to another episode of All Things Money. I'm your host Fatima Attarwala, and my guest today is Nadir, the CEO of Faysal Funds. Now, at the time of shooting of this episode, the stock market just crossed 130,000 points. When I look at the financial market, the stock market, the investment and saving markets right now, and I compare it to say 5 years ago, 6 years ago, pre-COVID era, a lot has happened and most of it has been negative. So let's see what impact has it had on savings and investments in Pakistan. Hello, sir. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Now, as I said, if you look at pre-COVID, the dollar-rupee parity, the investment ratio, they say so much has happened. We had the pandemic, we had the Russia-Ukraine crisis. More recently, we had Iran-US war, because of which our petrol prices up. We had the Pakistan-India conflict. So, and now we have the Trump era and the tariffs. So much has happened. But in reality, on ground, has anything changed over the last 5 to 6 years?
I think if you look at the macro level data, there are a fair number of improvements. Inflation data for June just came in, I think yesterday, it's 3.2%. For the full year, it's 4.5
I think 4.9. I think roughly around 5%.
And high base effect tha because the previous 2 years were very high. You are in a current account surplus. The budget presented, while it may have, some people may like it, some may not. It does have some coherence towards, going in a direction where our country needs to go. Pre-COVID, देखें बहुत खामोशी थी. The 2018 to 20, while sentiment seemed to be on the higher side than they are today, there was not a lot of activity in business terms. Your PSX, the stock market and equity values, after 2017, when we theoretically got promoted to the emerging market status, didn't really do anything. So 5 years in the PSX, koi khas farak nahi pada for the investors over there. To post 2022, values थोड़ी improve हुई हैं. And I mean, देखिए ये एक बड़ा पुराना argument है. And if you ever have a stockbroker on the show, he'll tell you that we are the cheapest market in the region in terms of valuation. But that is an argument that we've been giving since the early 90s when we first opened the market to foreign institutional investors. तो हमारा एक discount चलता है for whatever reason. क्या कहते हैं? I think now what is happening is we are reaching, and probably there is more upside still. We are reaching a much better value for equity markets. A lot of people don't list their companies for this reason. They say कि यार मैं IPO करूँगा तो मेरी तो वैल्यू नीचे हो जाती है.
I don't think the Pakistan stock market has the depth to absorb some really big IPOs for maybe companies like Jazz, like we were.
हाँ ऐसे. I think large companies, large telcos. The PTCL is an old listing since 1994. New companies will need a bit more depth. अगर आप IPOs देखें जो पिछले 2 साल में हुए हैं, they range between, I don't know, 2-3 billion rupees and maybe 15 billion, 10 billion. So that's not very large. Of course, it's a good thing. But again, size-wise, अब आप उसको अगर डॉलर में करें, जो हम सबको शौक होता है डॉलर में चीज़ें देखने का, 1 बिलियन रुपए का IPO means $4.25 million. So, it doesn't really move the needle. It's good that it's coming. And what is actually happening is that companies that have come in the last few years are companies which genuinely want third-party capital for growth. So hopefully we will see many of these grow into much larger organizations. But वही 5-10 साल का horizon है. और unfortunately हमारी mentality पाकिस्तानी की है कि आज ₹1 डालो कल ₹2 निकाल लो. तो वो सोचते नहीं है long term.
Long-term horizon. But I think planning for long-term horizon in Pakistan is a bit tricky too. We do not know who's going to be in power. We do not know what policies are going to be in place. So it's like make as quick a buck as you can.
ये है हमारी mentality. But देखें power में जौन सी भी government होए, economic policy is kind of similar. Of course, there are nuances.
I've had a lot of businessmen who have disagreed.
देखिए वो तो disagree. Businessmen would disagree because everybody is looking to enhance their. अब budgets जो होते हैं, देखें, we have restrictive taxation. We do have it. But again, what do you do when your government expenditure is high? You need tax to run the government. अब या तो government expenditure कम होए, taxation rationalize होए, जो थोड़े से टैक्स पेयर हैं वो डबल ट्रिपल क्वाड्रुपल होएं, तो फिर आपका नीडल कोई मूव होएगा ना. अभी तो आप ईयर ऑन ईयर यू फायर फाइट. एज अ गवर्नमेंट कि यार टैक्स कम हो गया, IMF ने ये कह दिया, फलाने ने ये कर दिया। तो जब तक आप अपने आप को स्टेबल नहीं करेंगे, आपके साथ हर साल ये होएगा। वेयर आई हैव अ प्रॉब्लम विद एनुअल बजट्स इज we change taxation every year, which actually is very detrimental to any business for planning purposes. अब आपने वो आर्ग्यूमेंट छोड़ दें कि टैक्स ज़्यादा है कि कम है, जो भी है 5 साल के लिए छोड़ देना, ताकि जिसने भी काम करना है वो 5 साल के लिए उसको पता है मैं ये करूँगा, मेरा ये टैक्सेशन है। वो हर साल कोई 20% को 25% कर देते हैं, कभी 20 को 15 तो कम ही करते हैं। So that is wrong. That is something that our financial planners as a nation should look at. Give consistency. Consistency is what businesses look for. So if I know कि यार मेरा एक्सटर्नल ये है, द रेस्ट इज अप टू मी, मैं अपने ऑपरेशन एफिशिएंट करूँ, मैं किस तरह करूँ, मैं नई मार्केट्स ढूंढूँ। व्हेन आई डोंट नो व्हाट माय टैक्स इज गोइंग टू बी ईयर ऑन ईयर, तो मैं कंफ्यूज ही रहता हूँ। मैं कहता हूँ चलो यार दुबई में घर खरीद लो, यही होता है। सो ये इनको करना पड़ेगा। अब इस साल उन्होंने फिर चेंजेस किए हैं, and again the changes are not, I mean, I'm not a political analyst or an economic analyst, but some of the changes just didn't make any sense to me.
Such as?
देखिए, रिटर्न इन what is income? सैलरी मिलती है, रिटर्न मिलता है आपकी इन्वेस्टमेंट्स का, आपके पास अगर प्रॉपर्टी है उसका किराया आता है, ये सब चीज़ें इनकम है। अब हमारी हर किस्म की इनकम के लिए अलग अलग टैक्सेशन है, तो क्यों एक इनकम टैक्स जो है एक फ्लैट क्यों नहीं है कि इनकम जहाँ से भी आए, चाहे सैलरी से आए, इन्वेस्टमेंट से आए, why are these distinctions? Now what they did, and this will affect our industry a little bit, is the dividend tax on investments in mutual funds, which are money market funds or fixed income funds, is 29%. Withholding tax on bank deposits where you earn a return has just been increased from 15 to 20%. Why this disparity? What is the logic here?
So how do you see the budget affecting the different instruments of savings and income?
I think for financial investments, there is a tax anomaly which at some point the government should address. Why are there different taxations for different financial instruments? If I have a rupee, then I'm all wondering here, if I invest it here, my tax is 15%. If I invest it there, it's 20. If I invest it there, it's 29. Income is income. सबकी tax बराबर कर दें. That makes logical sense.
How does that affect saving patterns or investment patterns?
Saving patterns, this is a difficult year because in terms of...
I think the last few years has been a difficult year with inflation.
This is a difficult year for financial institutions in general. One, the rate of return or the profit on money market and so on and so forth is half of what it was last year.
Isn't that good that the interest rate is coming out for the masses?
It's good for it's good for the borrowing masses. Those who don't borrow are on the other side of the table when they are investors or savers.
But generally the logic is when the interest rates are down, the businesses can borrow more. When they can borrow more, they can hire more people. There's more employment.
That logic applies. That logic does apply. इसमें यही है कि well, what it is that lower interest rates are good for the economy because your inflation rate is lower, your consumables do not increase at a high pace as we saw in the last 2 or 3 years. So that by and large is good. But again, you've got to maintain parity. Right now, the rupee in theoretical terms is an undervalued currency. However, in the last week, we've seen in the secondary market, the rupee has moved by about 2%, weaker versus the US dollar.
Depreciating, yes.
That's because in the past, if you follow the trend of the dollar rupee, maybe 10, 15-year trend, we are a net importing country. And the balance dollars come from remittances by Pakistanis who are working outside. We still run a gap, usually. So either we need to kill imports or reduce imports, which again is a free trade issue because we are in an IMF program and they do not want you to curtail imports in any way, or we need to increase exports. There are only two it's basic, very basic economics.
That's the cycle that Pakistan has always been stuck in. But if I were to just look at let's say since 2016, if I had 100 rupees and I invested in gold versus the money markets versus the equity funds, where do you think I would have made the most money?
Well, strangely, this question, I had this data run this morning, not related to the show, but just because I wanted to know. If you had 100 rupees, and I'll just take my phone and give you the exact numbers. If you had 100 rupees on 1st July 2016, and you invested in what is called the KSE 100, you would have got 365 rupees right now. In the KMI 30, which is the Sharia compliant index, you would have got 323 rupees. Treasury bills 284 rupees, bank deposits 243 rupees, gold 773 rupees. So gold really in 10 years has outperformed all other classes over here. And if you had purchased dollars with your 100 rupees 10 years ago, that 100 rupees would now be worth 340 rupees. So technically your PSX representative index has outperformed the US dollar.
Then the stock market, and then the dollar.
Well, stock market and dollar are very close to each other.
Together. What about real estate? Say,
देखिए real estate का data आपके पास, you don't have real estate documented scientific data that you can actually rely on and make. People are doing it. There is a real estate index and so on and so forth. But real estate remains an anomaly in Pakistan because in the past, and that is reducing now, a lot of properties are under-declared in value terms. A lot of payments are made in cash, which are not documented in the value of the property. So it's a difficult one to actually say that real estate has performed better or worse.
You know, your predecessor at Faysal Funds, Kulthum bin Latif, I think, he was very pro REITs.
REITs are a very, very good instrument. REITs, the problem that we have with REITs now, we are exploring 3 different REITs.
REITs being real
estate investment trust.
And that's a way for a small retail investor like me to invest in real estate.
If I want to buy an apartment in a high-end apartment complex and, it's 50 million, 70 million, I don't have the money. But I believe that this will appreciate. So a REIT, if that particular property is part of a REIT, I can invest 1 million rupees and still benefit from the upside. REITs will take off in Pakistan. It's a matter of time. I don't know if the time is now. There are some very successful REIT stories, 2 or 3 actually, I won't say a large number. The R.F. Habib Dolman REIT is an excellent instrument. Somebody who would have invested at the inception part would have done quite well in return terms. There are other private ones which have not yet come to the market. The condition for a REIT is once you launch it and you have taken some money in, you must list on the PSX within 3 years. So in some cases, from what I've heard, and I don't have any evidence to support it, people have actually managed to sell the property before the 3 years, taken an appreciation, and the REIT has wound up and people have made a return. So they never actually came to the market.
That's the problem of the real estate and construction are 2 different industries. People invest in real estate as an investor. It's not a productive activity.
देखिए productive इस पे थोड़ा सा मैं कहूँगा productive it would be because you have a lot of ancillary industries that benefit from construction.
Construction, yes, but as we talked about REITs, people just sell off. It's a file game. So if you have real estate, but it's appreciating in value, but it doesn't have a productive activity, it doesn't have construction. Not like those plots in defense. That's not a productive activity. It's not a productive asset that is appreciated.
Technically, yes. Practically, if I have a plot and I bought it for 100 rupees and 5 years later I managed to get 200 for it, the economy is kind of growing with it, with the rupee change. But I understand exactly what you're saying in terms of productivity. What is it doing except making me a little bit richer? That's all.
It's not providing employment. When there's construction, when there's steel industries and cement industry involved, then yes, then there's a effect. But
it's a passive investment. I mean,
and that is a very popular form of investment. The whole file game that is going on.
The file game, I think, has reduced a lot.
It has?
I think it has. But again, I'm not a real estate expert.
I don't even have writers as the head of business and finance desk. I don't have writers talking about real estate because it's just not documented enough.
No, it's not documented. And the file game, I mean,
and the players in it are so big that nobody's willing to talk about it as well.
Well, the largest asset class in the world is real estate. It's also the largest asset class in Pakistan. It is a matter of time, but I don't think that time is now. I think it will take us some more years to actually have I won't use the word professional because that doesn't sound right, to have an industry that you can actually capture. Now, it is an asset class. I mean, buildings come up all over the world. Many of them come up through third-party money, and it's not just that I bought a file because I want to get that one canal plot or 10 marla plot and build a house on it. A lot of it is actually investors who are just like they invest in the stock market, they'll invest in real
They're
estate,
just
and this
sitting
is a
on that
vehicle.
file and then they'll
So
sell it.
these vehicles will keep growing in Pakistan, but it will take some time because the old way is much more lucrative for people.
The undocumented way in which everything on paper is, I don't know, 1/10 the actual value or even less. So recently I did a story on Google Wallets. It was launched in March. In 3 months, it had like 500,000 downloads. It's the 9th most downloaded market in the world, Google Wallets in Pakistan in the last 3 months. So Google issued a whole statement of how excited they are about Pakistan. Then I talked to the country manager of Visa, and the country manager of Visa is like, among the 90 countries in the region, Pakistan is one of the top important markets. So it keeps coming out that financial inclusion, the Gen Z population digitization, all of that has increased interest in Pakistan in the financial sector. Is that the case? Do you see an increase in financial interest, or is it just a section of the elite who are connected to the internet who have the funds and the masses are just lagging behind?
I think there is interest. I think the masses are coming into play. I think Easy Paisa has 13 million accounts.
I think Easy Paisa is linked to Faysal funds as well.
We have a direct Easy Paisa users can invest in Faisal funds.
So what has the response to that been like?
These are small ticket items, right? I mean, the
That's
digital
why I want to know
journey.
small ticket
the
items,
digital
the everyday
journey
man.
is, I have this app, and I'll press a button. I can put my money in the bank. I can put my money in a mutual fund. At some point, the same app will allow you to go into the stock market and make a payment to somebody who sent me a shalwar kurta from Lahore or something like that. That same app will do everything. Right now, you've got different things going. So Easy Paisa is generally in use. When the elite word I'd use for people who are wealthy.
What is wealthy for you?
I think in Pakistan, wealthy would qualify probably north of 250, 300 million rupees net worth.
Wow, I'm so far off from that.
The point is your economy remains undocumented. So when you see and when we get data that this one is below the poverty line, this one, yes, there are many people who are not doing so well in Pakistan. But the fact that probably, and no one has the right numbers. My guess is,
three fortunate sending at the single, like, what are they
my
talking?
guess
How
is
they're
that
doing?
more than 50% of the economy is undocumented. That's my guess. Some people say 30, some say 40, some say 50. My guess is it's more than the documented economy. But I mean, one thing is eating out. Now you've got the very expensive restaurants which will cost you 5,000-10,000 rupees per person.
Absolutely.
Then you've got the little restaurants and so on and so on. And the ones that are, no restaurant is empty. Whether it's 100 rupees, whether it's in Mardan, it's in Karachi, they are all full. What does that tell you? There is cash that's floating around.
No matter how much digitization and financial inclusion you have, the payment system. But yeah, I think the amount of withdrawals from ATMs itself shows us that there's a lot of cash floating in the economy.
And you see, I think we are the only country in the world that coined a term called non-filer. People who don't file their tax returns. And the FBR started charging them higher withholding taxes than they did for filers. You didn't see a huge jump in
Filing taxes.
filing.
Yeah. And they still persist.
They don't mind. They'll pay your 30% withholding tax. They just don't want to file taxes for unknown reasons to me. Because it's quite simple to file taxes now.
I suppose they don't want to be in the formal net. They don't want to know that they have money.
You see, you've got to be in the formal net. You cannot. It's against the law. I mean,
it is against the law, but I think if you have a small Kiryana store is growing, you make all the payments on cash and you just run it and enjoy your fortuna which is sitting in your car.
Also true.
So why should they file taxes? What is the incentive to? If the incentive is just the higher tax rate, because we have the carrot, we have the stick. Where's the carrot?
People, I think, are afraid. Again, it's a general statement that, and this would be more the much wealthier people than the Kiryana shop. That once we open this door people will audit us and all.
Okay,
But again, my point
boutiques in
remains,
Zamzama, for
listen,
example.
it's the law of the land. I mean, if you don't like it, pay your taxes or do something else here. I'm not in favor of.
The law, no,
But
people don't
again,
follow the law of
that
the
is a
land in Pakistan.
societal degradation that has
Yes.
taken place also.
I don't think it's degradation. I think it's just us all along. I don't remember a time when people said, yes, he used to stop at signals. And why should they when they can just give a red bill to the police wala and it's done? So coming back to the conversation, the stock market is booming and it has over the last 10 years beaten the dollar as well. But have the number of retail investors increased?
The rate of growth has increased in number of new investors in the stock market. I don't have the figures, but the rate of growth has increased. Again, but the absolute remains negligible.
So in Faysal funds, are you seeing an increase, or is it more the corporate players, the high network individuals, or do you see more smaller players coming in?
You see smaller people coming in, as in investment ticket size of 50, 100, 150,000. We do have a reasonable inflow of that. But at the same time, we have an outflow as well. Because this saver is not long term. Generally, they'll put the money in, then they'll need it for something next month, they'll take it out, somebody else will come in. So we open on average maybe 30 accounts a day, 40 accounts a day, new accounts. And these are all new to us. They may have invested in other AMCs or have other investments, but new to us.
When you introduced Easy Paisa, was there an uptick, like a strong uptick in small investors?
Yes, we have, I think, 120,000 or something in clients who are Easy Paisa customers only. So we did see, and we
now
still
that
see
inflation
it
has gone down and the economy is stabilized, has there been an increase versus, say, in FY25 versus FY23?
No. I don't have the numbers, but I
It's just a
think
broad
based on
trend.
looking at it, it hasn't really increased.
So the disposable income hasn't really
See, an
increased
Easy
that much.
Paisa user by definition is a wallet user. He's not an investor. So while it is very good for financial inclusion from an operational or commercial perspective for a company like ours, somebody putting in 100 rupees and then taking it out after 3 days is really not worth it. It costs us 48 rupees to do the Nadra verisis of their CNIC from AML and all those other laws. So,
But generally the economy
but we carry on with the product
Yeah,
because
because
we
of
actually
financial
are
inclusion,
kind of, let more people keep coming in.
the more familiar they are with financial products, the more likely they are to stay in the system. So there's this term, high earning, not rich yet individuals in the West. So I think high earning. So say you have a salary of 600,000, 500,000, that sounds really good. But by the time you're done paying the electricity bills and the maintenance bills and the water bills, you don't have a lot of money left. So I'm trying to figure out that ignored middle income group that is hit by taxes, that is hit by inflation. Have they increased investments or not?
I think because of inflation last year, people didn't increase a whole lot. The size, your corporate will always be your biggest investor, no matter how much retail gets involved. Your high net worth will be the next biggest investor, no matter your retail base doubles, triples,
they
and
become
so
a
on.
little less rich or they become more rich, but they remain rich. This middle income group, they're the one that gets squeezed and the ones that get taxed. How has anything?
Well, the salary tax rates have been rationalized a little bit, and if you look
2%,
at the for the higher guys, for the person earning 100 odd thousand, it's more like 20-25% or 30%. If you look at the table of how the new tax rates are working for salaried only, forget everything else, there is a fair benefit to the first 5 or 6 categories. After that, yes, 2%, 1%.
So again, the middle income, the ones who are most likely to spend on the domestic economies, because this middle income group doesn't have the money to go and shop in Dubai. They'll shop in Dolman, they'll shop in Sadar, they'll buy the school bags for their kids. So if that group has money, that group is likely to spend in Pakistan. But because of our taxation system, they are the ones the least likely to get the benefit of taxes. Because as I said, the 2% is not enough. It's what? It's like a couple of pizzas, one fine dining date.
Yeah,
and if they were to save more, they would be able to invest more as well. So has there been uptick in that? Not the Easy Paisa wallets, but the ones with an account and who can invest maybe 5 lakhs a month.
Yes, I would say yes to that. Again, the upticks are marginal. but you do see an improvement in our small ticket customers are growing at a much faster rate than our big ticket customers, much faster.
Okay, so on another tangent, our last conversation when I interviewed you for the paper, you mentioned that T-bills are black holes. About a month ago, almost 853 billion was raised in T-bills, and you were pro sukuks and not that pro T-bills. So do you still have the same opinion?
Uh, I'm not sure what I said, but
Okay.
black
said
hole,
sukuk.
T-bill is basically government financing. I mean, you buy a T-bill, you are financing the government's
I have you on
expenditures.
record,
Similarly, with the government of Pakistan sukuks, it's the same thing. They're just different structures, Sharia compliant.
Your point at that time was sukuk leads to productive activity because you have to invest in some asset. Yes. So that
A
was
sukuk is an asset-backed structure. So that asset needs to exist. It needs to deliver what it is supposed to deliver. So the sukuk investor gets a return based on what it is. So in theory, yes, that is a better investment.
better investment, yeah. So another thing that has been hyped a lot are voluntary pension schemes. So maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
I think that's a very good. That is actually for the middle class and upper middle class a very good incentive to save. So if you invest today, July has started now. You know what your salary will be for the next 12 months, more or less. If you're lucky, you'll get an increment, right?
Not that lucky.
So then, if you start investing now, and the amounts are irrelevant, anything you invest, and there are certain formulas to calculate what is the maximum you can invest. Most people don't reach their maximum. Anything you invest, you get an instantaneous credit in your next salary bill. So your tax reduces next month if
What
you
about
invest
the
today.
cost?
But there is a
Yeah.
caveat. You've got to hold on to the VPS because the whole design is that it should be something that funds your retirement life. So if you take it out early, you will have to pay the tax that you have saved.
So what is the cost to taking out a VPS? So how much do I pay, say, Faisal Funds or Bank Al Falah, whoever I'm purchasing, and what's the cost? Because, for example, when you talk about insurance, it has a similar structure.
There is no cost. There's a management fee.
Exactly, the management fee, because that's a problem with insurance, that the upfront fees is so high that is usually not worth using.
No, not
going
at
for
all.
insurance schemes.
In voluntary pension, depends which fund you invest in or which sub fund. If it's equity, the fee is a little higher, but it's a 1 to 2%
1 to 2%.
per annum on
And
the amount that you invested.
What is the amount of credit minimum maximum that you can get on your salary?
I'm not exactly sure of the formula. It's 20% of your taxable income can be invested in VPS and you get whatever your marginal tax rate is. That amount is your credit that you can get on that 20% of your taxable income that you invest. So if you make 100 rupees and your tax rate is 10%, you are allowed to invest 20 rupees, and of that 20 you'll get whatever your taxation is for 100. The same rate will apply to your savings on the 20 that you invest over there.
Okay, so basically, the tax that you're paying, that is slightly reduced.
Your tax is reduced. It's an immediate benefit for a longer term
Yeah, for
solution.
example, it's
So if you put it in today, take a tax break the next month, and then the month later you said I want it back, you're going to have to pay that tax.
What is the time frame for investment in voluntary pension schemes? Like, what's the minimum
There
amount of
are
years?
some new rules coming where you can even look at it as something that you can carry on till the age of 85. Pehle it was more like 60, 70, depending on your retirement age. You would quote your age and the scheme would operate that way. They're very, very similar to your normal mutual funds, the way they operate. It's just that these are restricted in exit.
You cannot.
When you're 60, you can take some out without paying any tax.
But when we invest in a mutual fund, do we get the tax break?
In the mutual fund, no, there's no tax break.
Because that is that one incentive.
There used to be, till I think 2 years ago, and it was removed, there was a maximum amount that you could invest in a mutual fund, and if you held it for 2 years, you would get a 20% tax break on the investment you made. So I think the maximum amount was 2 million rupees. Many people would put in 2 million rupees and save 400,000 in income tax.
So
But
that
you
was
had to hold it.
yeah.
Again, the government's policy to generate longer term savings.
But this is a similar structure for voluntary pension schemes right now. That if you hold it for a longer time period, if you hold it
It
in
remains,
like,
you keep
you get
getting the
some
tax
yes.
benefit. If you take it out, you do not.
So if somebody wanted to make a long-term investment, they had insurance products, they had voluntary pension schemes, they had mutual funds, they had dollars, they had REITs, they had ETFs, they have gold. What would you suggest? Say the time frame is 20 years.
I would suggest equities always. In a 20-year horizon, definitely.
So just buy them and hold them. Buy blue chip stocks and just hold them. And if you want monthly returns, say there's a widow and her son is investing for her, what instrument would you recommend? 1 month, 100,000.
What we would call Mahana Amdani plans or something like that with mutual funds. I mean, you could look at banks as well, but generally the rate of return in mutual funds is a little higher than bank deposits. So I would recommend a monthly income mutual fund.
Okay, so this is, nuclear family, both parents working, young kids, elderly. They have, say, savings of 100,000 a month. What kind of portfolio should they make? They have 100,000
It all depends on your risk tolerance, your time horizon, and so on and so forth.
They are in it for the long game. They want to invest till they are old, high risk tolerance. And would crypto be in part of that portfolio?
Crypto is something I've never studied because I think it's in the air. I don't understand it, and I don't think I'll ever understand it. All the people seem to make a lot of money out of it, and there's a huge hype, and we now have a crypto council in Islamabad. I don't know what else, but I don't understand it at all.
Okay, so let's
how can something be of value when there's nothing behind it? What's the value? Where's the value? I don't get it. So.
Okay, so couple nuclear family, 100,000 every month they have in their hand. What kind of portfolio?
Well, I would recommend probably 75% in the stock market every month on good quality blue chip shares, which have a growth story as well as a return, a cash return that comes. Yeah. And 25% in fixed income. If they were younger people, maybe in their 30s. The 40s, you tweak the percentage a little bit. In the 50s, your focus would be more on safety than on the potential of high returns. Because as I said, between 2017 and 2022, in terms of the index and the price returns, nobody really made any money in the PSX. Yes, if you had bought dividend paying shares, you had invested 100 rupees, you were getting 8, 10, 12 rupees a year back in dividend, but there was no growth in your money. You may as well have left it in the bank. And post 2022, there has been some movement. So yeah, it depends. The younger you are, the higher you should invest in higher risk categories with higher return potential.
Stock market, so much of it is market correction. In dollar terms, when we look at before the rupee depreciated, in dollar terms, when you compare it to now, the returns are not the same. In fact, we are depressed compared to 2017 and before.
Like I said, the data shows you made 23 rupees more on your 100 rupees if you invested in the KSE 100 10 years ago versus buying
23 years over
$5 or $10, whatever 100 rupees would get you, or $1.
So basically, if I had 100 rupees in 2016, whether I had bought 100 rupees worth of dollars or 100 worth of equities, my return 10 years later
would kind of the same.
More or less the same. It's only gold that it shines.
Well, gold really shone last year, but then gold also has lull periods. See, I'll tell you something about predictability and predictions. Many years ago, on the same day, two prominent in US, one Swiss investment bank and one US, took out a research note on gold and their view. And now these guys are probably Harvard educated, PhDs, MBAs, blah, blah, blah. One guy said, sell now, it's going to $900 an ounce. The other guy said, buy now, it's going to $2,100 an ounce. Now these are two, so predictability is highly subjective. It's your view on macroeconomics over 3 years, and these are individual views. So obviously two equivalently qualified individuals made completely opposite calls. I never followed up to see who was right, but that actually, was a big lesson for me in my career that, this is how wildly different a view can be, even on something which is very tangible like gold or the US dollar or something like that. So the last 10 years, good for gold investors. Who knows what the next 10 years are? We don't know.
But the safe bet right now would be equities.
See, equities, you're still running in the developed markets. Dividend yields are below money market normally because there the investor is much more focused on growth than on income. In Pakistan, the focus generally is also strongly on income. So I'll give you an example. MCB Bank has jumped by about, I think, 50 rupees in the last 2 days. Even at the price today of 330 or 340, and based on its track record and its income, it's still going to give you an 11% cash return, even if you don't sell it. So you buy it today, likelihood of losing, yes, it can go back to 280 rupees. But again, if you are that 5, 10, 15-year horizon person, you will, on your investment amount, make 10, 11, 12%. And in that cycle, the stock will probably go to 400, 500 at some point.
But would that be able to beat inflation, given how high our inflation has gone in the recent
Well, in the last
I mean,
3
other
years,
than
nothing,
gold,
nothing
what
has
has
beaten
beaten
inflation.
inflation?
Nothing. Not in the last 3 years. But again, last 3 years were an anomaly, yes?
There have been a lot of anomalies for our
the rupee
generation.
was held, whereas they should have depreciated the rupee by 5 to 10%, which they do. And that keeps, adjustments are much easier. When you drop from 100 to 200 and 200 to 280 and then 330, so nothing makes sense anymore at that point. So you maintain a balanced policy of gradual depreciation till the point where your dollar inflow and outflow is predictably going to be the same for the coming years. And then at that point is where you can kind of, I lost my chain of thought for a second, where you can, हम लोग क्या बात कर रहे थे?
The predictability of...
Yeah, the inflation part, yes. So these last 3-4 years are anomalies in our economic history.
I hope we do not have any more anomalies.
Well,
we have been
we
having one anomaly after another in the recent past.
Inshallah, we will keep improving. That's you
Finally,
must hope for the best,
yes.
but expect the worst.
Keeping the fingers crossed for the stabilization to continue and lead to some growth eventually.
Again, it'll take a little time for these stabilization measures at the macro level to trickle down to micro. Now the price of flour has reduced. So there are micro benefits coming in. They're not material, and they should become material over the next 2-3 years if this current macro improvement continues.
As I said, fingers crossed. Thank you so much for coming to my show. It was very interesting. I think the main takeaway that I had is that while nobody can predict the future, equity seems a slightly safer bet than other options.
Well, higher return bet. I won't call it safer.
Okay, higher return bet compared to other options. Thank you so much for coming to this.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you.